Well, everybody, let's get started. My name is Dave Asham, and I started this company called Give Buy Sell about 10 years or so ago. And we do lots of things. We have a museum division that works with cultural institutions on audio tours and smartphone tours. And then we have a division that focuses on training and HR. And then the one we're talking about today is how can mobile help nonprofits? So we're lucky to have Dina. Here's a picture of me, but the most important one is Dina. And Dina, tell us about your background and how you happen to be at Debbie Allen Dance Academy.
Absolutely. My name's Dina Bartello. I've been in nonprofit for 23 years now as a nonprofit fundraiser development person. So I'm the director of development currently at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. Prior to that, mainly health organizations like the American Lung Association, the National MS Society, and then most recently Project Angel Food, a much smaller organization. So I have been in all sizes, national organizations to community organizations, and now at the Dance Academy, which is about a $2.5 million organization annual budget.
And the history of the Dance Academies, most people probably know Debbie Allen, but maybe just bring everybody up to speed on,
Sure.
on this group.
Miss Debbie Allen started the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. It'll be our 18th year this year. So 18 years ago, she started the academy with her husband, Norm Nixon, a former Los Angeles Laker, two-time NBA champion. She's a famous choreographer, dancer, actor, executive producer of Grey's Anatomy, and has directed most TV shows you've seen on TV right now. Her main purpose of putting this academy bringing it to life was because she was turned down so many times as a child. She was told that she couldn't dance in certain academies because she happened to be Black or she was too short. Her parents actually moved her and her sister Felicia Rashad to Mexico so that she would have the opportunity to dance. So now she wants to give every child that opportunity, the ones that don't particularly look like dancers or you wouldn't think are dancers. She gives them that opportunity and makes those dreams come true.
You were saying to me yesterday, most of the people that work there are somehow affiliated with song or dance or Broadway or something cultural and arts, I take it.
Yes. So I'm surrounded by all of these Broadway actors and singers, and it's extraordinarily intimidating if you go out on an evening for karaoke. So just don't do it. Just stay quiet all the time.
Well, the way today's discussion will go is I'm going to talk just a little bit about the landscape of mobile and go through all the various choices that we provide and that others in the industry provide. So you have kind of an idea of what choices are out there. And then we're going to dive into two things. The first part will be how Dina has used mobile and why she decided to use mobile at some events. And then we're going to split over and talk about Giving Tuesday, since that's on everybody's things to do, is how to prepare for Giving Tuesday. And Dina has a bunch of ideas that she's going to share, and she might even ask some of you some questions about Giving Tuesday as well. So I will be sending a link to this presentation so that you can actually hear the audio and see the slides probably tomorrow morning, and we'll also have a copy of the PowerPoint slides too. So you can share that with your friends and associates, and at the end we'll give out my email and Dina's email in case you have questions that you want to ask afterwards. In the meantime, we love having questions in the chat window, and Dina, you can see the chat window too. So everybody, as you're thinking of questions, whether they're on point or not, it's kind of fun to have open conversations. So it's great to get the conversations going, and Dina or I will address them, or one of my team members too. We've been in business 12 years. The reason I say that is just because we've seen every possible type of mobile interaction, and I think what we've learned is a couple of things. Clearly, it's much easier to raise money using people's phones today than it was 4 or 5 years ago, when people were worried about minutes and Wi-Fi. Now everybody's using their phone to replace their computer. So the days of not of caring about using your phone, I think those are over. So my prediction is that by 2020, 85% of most fundraising organizations are going to have a mobile option. It's just so easy to do, and we'll all have you take out your phone in a few minutes and actually text in to see the landing page that Dina has built. I also think that because mobile is just so pervasive, years ago it might be really cutting edge to offer a mobile solution, either at an event or maybe in a Facebook post. It's not considered that cutting edge today. It's considered kind of what you should be doing. So if you've been a little nervous about that, hopefully the webinar will help. And if you still are a little anxious about it, let's ask some questions to Dina. Terry asked, how many charities today are using mobile giving? My wild guess is 2 or 3%. We work with about 4,000 charities, and we're one of the largest 3 or 4 in the country. So that probably means the whole universe is maybe 10, 20,000, and there have to be 1 million to 2 million charities in the United States. So it's a fraction, but we are signing up maybe 10 to 20 charities a week now to use mobile, especially in the fundraising season, compared to probably 2 or 3 a year or so ago. So good question. We're going to talk about events and Giving Tuesday. And as you can see on the left side, maybe Dina, you want to just chat a little bit about the event, not in too much detail, but this whole thing about nobody's carrying a checkbook these days.
You know, one of the first things that when I came on board at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy was we have recitals, and the parents come. Now, 60% of our students happen to be on scholarship. The other 40%, their parents are already paying tuition. The parents wanted to do mobile giving the day of the concert, and we were all thinking, well, they're either paying tuition or they don't have money to give. So what are the chances of anybody doing doing it? And passing the bucket doesn't work. People don't carry cash, and they don't have checkbooks. So we tried it. We didn't think that it was going to be successful, and we had the screen up with the thermometer, and you can type in the message, and it was surprising. We raised over $7,000, and these are people that either are, again, on scholarship or have been giving tuition. So it wasn't donors, it wasn't supporters, it was the parents of our students. So you don't know how much you're going to raise. Always do it. Even if you only have 5 or 6 people in a room and it's a small soiree, always do it. There always needs to be an ask, and make it easy.
And I can second that, because we'll have clients that will say, oh, I only want to use this for my big gala. And I'll say, you're paying for it for the year. If you've got 10 people coming to your luncheon, or you have a book reading or something, people are very engaged. They spent the time to come. You would be surprised at how many people will whip out their phone and donate. And maybe it's only $200, $300, but you do that at every event you have. It really adds up over time. So we'll talk about that more in more detail, but events and for Giving Tuesday, those are the 2 things we're going to really be focusing on. We have, as well as I think the industry has, 5 different choices. At the moment, Dina's using this mobile donate and has used the thermometer. Let's just flip through these so you have some idea of what these are, and then we can move on to Dina's presentation. Mobile pledge is nothing more than you text in and you say, I want to donate $100, and that can go on a screen if you want, and that can go, of course, in a dashboard that you can look at. It is like a digital paddle raise. If you think for some reason people are not going to want to take out their credit card, maybe it's really dark, maybe it's a concert, then let them just pledge, and that can still go up on a screen. It's so fast and easy. You text in this case, M*100 and Robert. Now the organization could log into this dashboard and make a phone call to Robert and collect the money. Pledge is not as popular as some of the others, but in a certain situation where you're thinking, I don't think I want people to take out the credit card, then Pledge is good. You used a thermometer at your event, and this is not a picture of Dina over here, but Dina, there's lots of interesting things you can do with a thermometer. This was at a spring concert. Talk a little bit about a thermometer and why people want to use it, and what are the situations where it makes sense to do this?
I actually like using a thermometer in every situation when we're like whatever event we're doing, a gala or like the spring concert of 2018. In 2017 we did it as well, where we raised a little over 7,000. It gets people really excited and anxious. We started at the beginning of the concert, then we did it again at intermission so they could see how it raised, and they wanted to get above that $2,000 total. We gold low. People like to see it go over that. And the messages, as you see, they loved seeing those. They were messages to their kids or to Miss Allen or to just, wishing us luck.
It's just so personal to be able to text in. Instantly, the thermometer goes up. The MC, of course, if you have an MC, really presses the right buttons. Who at what table is the person Jamie that just donated $1,000, and then try to get the
We
other
have this question that says how many actually fulfilled their pledge. So that's a really good question. 98% of them fulfilled their pledge. I think we missed 2 people, and they later gave by check. They mailed in a check. They were 2 older individuals, so 100% actually fulfilled their pledge. We did, I'm not going to lie, we did have to do some follow-up calls, but I think it was a total of 15 calls that I made or that our receptionist made. It wasn't many, and it was well worth it.
A couple years ago, that was more like 85%. And I think that's because some people didn't know either how to finish the text or how to click the link. And now I think what we're hearing too, Dina, is most of our charities are saying when people text in, and you're all going to do it in just a second, when people text in, they get the link. If they're at a benefit, if they're at an event, they're going to donate because they're thinking to themselves, well, I don't want to go write a check. I didn't even bring my checkbook, and I don't want to go home and log onto my computer. So if I'm going to give my $500, I might as well do it right here. I'm not doing it on my phone is not an unusual thing like it was 3 or 4 years ago.
There's another question here. It says, is there pushback that you're asking for more money after the people in the room already gave money to be in the room? It is a good question. Most people do know that when they pay to get into the room for a gala or whatever, that a portion of that is covering the costs for the gala. What we do when we're at a gala and it's like a $350 ticket or a $500 ticket to get into the gala, we make it about a certain need. So this year it might be about the fact that we need a new van in order to transport the kids back and forth to classes. So we make it about the need. And we talk about where the money from the ticket sales went, and this is an additional need. So I don't normally get pushback on that. And a lot of the people who are there are guests of people who bought the ticket or the sponsorship, so don't forget them.
Well, and they want to give. I've oftentimes been a guest at a San Francisco ballet event. Well, I'm sitting there. I didn't pay $200-300. I don't mind giving, but I'm not going to whip out my checkbook and do it. And especially if there's a big screen and there's a guy like this on the screen that's encouraging, then I'm going to give it $200 or $300 bucks. So we're just
people love seeing their name.
Yeah, they really do.
People love seeing their name on the screen, and our founders, Mr. Nixon and Miss Allen, always call out those names. And having whoever, whether it's your executive director, the auctioneer, a board member, saying, "Oh, thank you, Joe, for doing that. Oh my God, did you see what Rebecca just did?" It really makes them feel special.
Yeah, it does. Good questions. Keep them coming, D. Goldberg and others. A few more. Many of you call us up and say, I want to turn on that system where the donor can charge the donation to their phone bill. That service is called Mobile Give. We're one of about 6 organizations, 7 in the country, that provide that. It all goes through the phone companies, and there are some restrictions. You've got to be a 501c3. You have to have $500,000 in annual revenue on your Form 990. Takes about 3 weeks or so to get going. It's a phenomenal service. We're not going to spend much time talking about it today. The pros and cons. The pro is when you text in, you get back, are you sure you want to donate $25 to the Debbie Allen Dance Academy? If you reply yes, hit your phone bill, you're done. You don't always get lots of donor information. You get some. And also, you cannot ask for more than one of these price points that you see on the screen. So when Dina's doing her big events, she's not going to offer this. But if Dina had a book signing or a lecture or a 10K race where people are very distracted, this has been used at an Andrea Bocelli concert, a Shania Twain concert. Jane Goodall uses it when she goes and speaks. Sometimes they will bring this out and people can text in. So for a very fast, quick donation, it's awesome. So half of our clients have both, and they use this in certain circumstances. So just keep in mind there is this service where you can charge your phone bill.
Another question for you on chat window.
Is the thermometer able to embed into a PowerPoint or a website link? Yeah. In fact, so many of our organizations have not yet put it in, but they really should, because you can grab, we have a little code, it's called a little web widget, and you can embed that in a PowerPoint, or you can embed it on a website. So if you have a Giving Tuesday initiative and you're trying to raise $10,000, put a little thermometer, something like this, and you can make it as fancy as you want on your screen. We know that thermometers work great because that's how GoFundMe and all the crowdfunding companies use it. So like Dina said, people love to see their name. So yes, you can grab that code and stick it on your website. The last one we'll talk about is text messaging. We have a webinar, I think, in a week and a half that talks just about how organizations are shifting to texting. Ask us questions after the session. We're not going to get much in that now, but I can just tell you that probably 25% of the people that you now email would rather get a text. Now, for those of us that are over 50, that might be a surprise. But the world is moving towards text messaging, and if you're not using texting to kind of communicate events and links and videos, you probably should keep that in mind. And then, of course, we're going to talk about mobile donate, and that's really where we're going to talk about with Dina. So Dina, when you first came to using mobile, you were going to use it for an event. So tell us why you decided to use it, and then we will go into a little demo that people can actually text in and try it. In fact, maybe while you're talking, I'll put this slide on right here. So while everybody is listening to Dina, take out your phone and text in to DADA, and Dina will explain what's going on.
So we wanted to raise money as quickly and easily as possible. And to be completely honest, with a lot of nonprofits, our websites are clunky. Yes, we want people to be driven to our websites, but the reality is most of the time they're not that friendly and they're not that easy to give to, and people have to click 3 or 4 times to get to where they want or need to be, or they have to search for it, and they just don't have the time to do that. So this is the quickest way to do it, and then it's up to us afterwards as development professionals to engage with them. You get all of their information, you get your phone number, you get their emails, you can communicate with them, and then it's your job after that to tell them about the mission and the programs and where, or sending them a link to the page on the website that you want them to see. But to give right away, they want to be able to do it quickly, and this is the best way to do that, and to make it as simple as possible. More than 2 clicks, they're more than likely just gonna give up and not give.
what kind of pushback did you get initially internally from your colleagues about using this at kind of a high-profile event?
Um, they're really open to, you know, just do what you think is going to work. At least try it. And this was actually the parents' idea, so I was really excited about that. We have a parent group. They're called DAPA, Debbie Allen Parent Association. They're like, well, let's just try it. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I was thrilled with the fact that they wanted to try something new and try to come up with some creative ways to raise money, and it worked. In 2017, that's what they did for their spring concert, and then we did it again for 2018 spring concert, and now we're going to do a big campaign for Giving Tuesday.
What kind of issues might come up, and what's your advice to folks kind of from a technology point of view? Because I think a lot of people on the call today, they are not IT wizards. So
I'm not either. So the reality is I'm not either, and I don't have the time to sit down and read a bunch of instruction manuals and try to figure out what that is. If you have someone younger in your office that is a millennial that wants to help you out, I suggest that. If not, I work with Casey at Mobile to Give. He is wonderful, and I'll just call him with my questions, and he'll load things in for me if I need it. So the support's there. So you just have to call them, and they do want. And all of you you're wonderful, and you'll help us get through it.
Thanks. That's a good plug. This page we see here, this is really how organizations can come in and change the amounts for the buttons and pick different templates and even set up text message reminders in case people forget to click the link and complete it. Are you planning on changing the look and feel going forward and adding it?
We are. So what we're doing for Giving Tuesday is you have this new option where you can embed a video. You can put a video in. So we're doing a video with Miss Allen and Mr. Nixon. They'll be wearing these T-shirts. Miss Allen will be wearing a T-shirt that says, "I want to be Debbie Allen when I grow up." Mr. Nixon's we haven't designed yet, but it's for our Giving Tuesday campaign. They're going to do a cute video together, and it's, you know, it'll be no more than a minute. It'll speak to what our need is, why it's important to give to the arts in this day and age. And if you give $50 or more, you get one of these cool T-shirts, and you get to choose your size. And that's another thing that's awesome about this app is we can put the sizes. They can choose. If they give $50 or more, there's a drop-down menu where you get to choose what size T-shirts, whether you want a men's or a woman's T-shirt. So there's all of these options. If you can think there's a lot of new things that are coming, and you can have it right there on the phone for people. And we're also going to do the same video on Miss Allen's Instagram and our Facebook and our Twitter and all of that. So the link will be right there when they're looking at Instagram or where they're looking at Twitter, and it'll go straight to our Give by Cell page.
Good question from Jay Smith, Dina, about the whole money thing. So maybe describe, so I'll start and then you can take over. So when an organization decides to use mobile, we give everybody a login to an account like this. And the short code is here. Their keyword is DADA. And Dina can change what it says. Thanks for your support, or thanks for coming tonight, however she wants it. And then before the event, Casey and Fred here would have helped Dina set this up and decide what she wants to do. How about the money flow? How does that all work?
So we get checks, and I'm pulling reports right after the event to see who actually followed through with their pledges and who didn't. So I'm making phone calls, but also the system is sending them texts saying, "Do you want to finish? Do you want to finish your pledge?" But it is good to make that phone call as well. So I think after the spring concert, it was a total of 3 checks. They sent me a check shortly after the event, and then 2 more when I collected more.
And then all the money, in this case, you guys chose WePay, but you could have chosen Authorize.net or whatever.
Yes.
So all the funds end up in your merchant account, not in our merchant account, so that you have authority to do whatever you want to. And
you can receive it the way you want.
However you want it. We have a new feature where you can ask the donor to compensate you for the credit card fee that we pay or CyberSource charges. So that's something that can be turned on or turned off. And then that would just be a little checkbox down here where typically it's checked. And then if somebody doesn't want to do it, they can uncheck it. But it's a way to make another 3% or so. You then send folks a receipt. So you created a little receipt here. So as soon as somebody donates, they get this receipt. And you've also checked text messaging, they get a little text back. So that's very nice. Let's just look at this screencast. So this is the admin page to set up the screencast that we looked at earlier. So easy to make changes in that whenever you want. All right. Let's talk a little bit about, there's another great picture of students. Love that picture.
And that student up there in front there, that young man, he's on Young Sheldon, by the way. Just thought I'd share that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sure, in Los Angeles, you get a lot of really talented people.
Young people, yeah, we do.
People. What did everybody think when you texted in DADA? Did you get back that link? Any questions about the whole process? If you have an iPhone, I think iPhone's operating system now allows you to actually, when you tap the credit card field button, the number, it can actually take a picture, an image of your card, if you hold it in front of your camera, and it'll autofill it. So some of you go ahead and try that. But hopefully you felt that it was a pretty simple thing. The questions we oftentimes hear, Dina, are these four. Do you want to just tackle these one by one?
Sure. Which one are we at? Let's see.
So questions we hear, return on investment. So, you know, we're going to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on this service from Give, Buy, Sell. Are we going to make that up in additional funds? Because if not, why are we doing it?
You are. You're absolutely going to make it up. So, I mean, we made in 2017, just off of one campaign, it was a little over $7,000, and then off of another campaign, a small campaign, another $5,000. You're going to make it up. The more you use it, the more you're going to make, and it also trains your donors that you're utilizing it. And if you're using it on social media, which is where you really should be doing it, utilizing it on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Snapchat pages, you're going to grow your donor base as well. So you're definitely not going to lose money from it, and it's also going to extend your reach.
Okay. Technology, any hiccups with either creating it or at the event? Because there's nothing worse than the fear of, oh my gosh, nothing's working and it's really embarrassing.
Yep. And you know, you just have to be prepared. As development people, we know how to do things on the fly, but I strongly suggest that you just get a hotspot, because every time I'm in a venue, they tell you that they have great Wi-Fi and they don't. So just make sure that you have a hotspot for your computer, so that if you're using the thermometer and you're going through the website, just make sure you have a hotspot. That's what I would advise.
Yeah, because for the thermometer, that's a live feed from our website. That's just refreshing every millisecond. So you need the projector, you need a screen, and then you plug it in, and then you need the internet. So
exactly.
What about the third one? How I weave my message in. Let's talk about events, and then let's just talk about kind of in general. What's your feeling? So
for instance, at our concert, you know, we have someone at the beginning of the event. We have the screen up as people are coming into the theater, and we have someone talk about it, and we weave the message in at that, you know, at the beginning. This what we need, you know, this evening for whatever that need happens to be. Ours is dance programs in order to give more children the opportunity. We bring that up. please feel free to text. And then we do a bigger push at intermission. And then at the end, we bring up the thermometer, let them know if we've gone over our goal, or if we're shy of our goal, or if Ms. Allen or Mr. Nixon want to match if we get to a certain point. So we weave it in through that way. It's easier at a gala because you normally have that period of time where you're doing a live auction or you're doing the speeches, and then you have that 5 to 10 minutes where you get to speak to the audience directly and get them to do it.
Yeah. And Terry just did a great segue into the fourth bullet. I'll start and then I'll turn over to Dina. I think 4 or 5 years ago, Terry, the older audience was just really clueless on how do I send a text message, and then do I click this link? Do I not click this link? Did it just hit my cell phone bill? I'm not really sure what is going on. Our charities are telling us now it doesn't matter whether you're 70 or you're 25. It's so common now to send a text, click a link, and go look at CNN or ESPN or whatever it happens to be. What's your feeling about this whole older generation using this? Because so many events are a 60 and 70-year-old crowd.
Quite a few of our older people have done it. There are a few, though, Terry, you're right. There are a couple that don't feel comfortable. They'll press that first and they won't follow through with the end, putting their credit card in, but I've already got their phone number at that point. So I just followed up with a phone call and they sent in a check. So it's the first step that's really important. And once you call them, or they give you a check at the end. I have one board member who is really tech savvy, but he's older, and he was like, I'm just not going to do it. But I loved that pitch. Here's my check. So it works. It's still, they're going to do it. It just might not be at that exact moment.
And if you have a big crowd, you have 300, 400, 500 people, and if a few people are having trouble, they could hold up their hand. One of your staff could come over, either take out their phone or the staff's phone, because it's just a credit card transaction going through a web page, and they could just do it on any phone with the credit card in front of them. So it can certainly be done right away.
Right, you can do it that way, and you can also, what we plan on doing with our gala is, if you're not comfortable, we do have pay stations for our silent auction. Feel free to go to them, and they can go ahead and just process something for a donation for you right there.
Yeah, love it.
So, yeah.
Okay, another great question about how the money works again. So every nonprofit on the call works with various merchant providers. You might use PayPal or WePay or CyberSource or Authorize.net or Sage or First Data. What we do, different from all of our competitors, is we use the one that you're already using. Why create a new one? We don't want to force you to use ours and take a fee. We just dump the data through an API into your existing credit card system, and then you process it the way it's normally processed. So it's not interrupting the charity's flow of funds. It's going in the same kind of way that they've always been going in. A question about text to donate and fees. Our fees they range between $1,000 and $2,000 depending on how many bells and whistles and whether you want screencasting for an event. Maybe $1,500 to $3,000 if you want every bell and whistle for the whole year to use it repeatedly. I think we're one of the cheapest, and not the cheapest in the industry. We have 20 or 30 bells and whistles that most people don't have. So I think that's why most organizations end up on our team.
And it's the whole year. It's the whole year. So even if you only have one event, public event, you can also utilize that, as I said before, with your social media platforms. You can also text out messages to your donors as well. You can use it as often as you want, and it's not going to change your bill.
Right.
So
another question is, I'm not sure I'm understanding whether you're talking about mobile donate or mobile pledge. Everything we're talking about is mobile donate, where people text in like it is here. They get a link to a landing page, and they tap credit card, and sometimes it auto fills. Sometimes you enter it, and you enter your name, and when you press submit, those funds end up in the merchant account, and tomorrow the charity can withdraw the funds.
Right.
Let's talk giving Tuesday. So last year you didn't use mobile for Giving Tuesday, if I remember right, but I think you're going to change that this year. Just talk about
Right.
what your strategy is and what's your advice to everybody on the phone.
Sure. Last year I was at another organization during Giving Tuesday, and then I started immediately after that at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. So
Okay.
I realized when looking at what we've been doing at the Academy, fundraising wise, we were a little behind in the times. So utilizing this platform was key for me. Every organization's different and has a different personality. We face a certain type of challenge in that because I have a celebrity founder, people automatically think you don't need my money. You don't need it. She knows celebrities, they all have money. We don't need it. It's almost completely untrue. So, and it's really difficult to raise money because of that. This platform allows me to do something different where I can reach the people on her personal Instagram. She has over 1 million followers that might want something in return. So by offering them this type of t-shirt, by offering this because she'll write a handwritten note afterwards too with the t-shirt, I'm connecting with the people that I really needed to connect with, the everyday givers in the world that like her. So I built this campaign around the fact that we weren't getting everyday givers. So it's really finding what your sweet spot is for your organization's personality.
For Giving Tuesday then, social media, emails, just let everybody know that if they want to donate, they can click a link in an email, or they can text in. And you'd be surprised how many people will get an email, and instead of clicking the link in the email, because we track the links, they will pick up their phone and text in, which to many of us doesn't make any sense because they could just as easily click that link. But the mindset is, okay, I'm going to text in, make a donation. So I text, I get the link, and off I go.
And most people are utilizing their phone for email. You know, I'm checking my email while on the train to work, and I'll just click whatever link is there and do everything through the phone. So most people aren't sitting in front of their computers when they're looking at social media, when you're sending out these messages through Facebook or whatever it happens, whatever platform you're utilizing. They've got downtime. They're playing on their phone at that time. They're waiting for a meeting to start, or they're doing it during the middle of a meeting or on their way home from work. They've got the time and they're thinking about it and they're going to give.
A couple of great questions. One from Amber about, can I donate only to a single event, or can I set up recurring?
Yes.
And, tell us about what your theory is on, and so the answer is yes, this tool allows you to turn on weekly, monthly, and it's just a setting that you can turn on. What's your advice and feeling about kind of the world of more and more recurring donations?
I'm personally of the feeling that I want to build a relationship with them. So I haven't had a whole lot of luck on reoccurring. So I'd love to hear more stories from everybody else if they've utilized this platform for that, or if you have any thoughts on that.
We're finding that about 20% of our clients today versus 10% last year are turning on this recurring button. And of those, they're getting maybe a third to do recurring. So it's growing. It's growing. And I think the idea that instead of making a $500 donation, I can make a $50 donation, just for some people is more palatable. So I think that since the technology now is in place to just auto charge the credit card, I think you ought to experiment with it just to see. I think you might get more money over time.
Yeah, I'll
let's
do
see.
that.
Another great question here, the 50% stat. So that stat is something that we found on several websites that, especially through social media and especially on Giving Tuesday, I think the stat used to be 35 to 40% was coming from mobile, and this year is predicted to be 50% coming from mobile. Now that might not be text in, but it might be I check Dina's Facebook and I click a link on my phone and I go to the mobile-friendly version. But the idea is I'm using my phone to complete that donation. I'm not going to a checkbook or to a computer to complete that donation. Any of our clients use mobile giving for peer-to-peer? Excellent question from Terry. So you all know about crowdfunding. We also have a crowdfunding arm called Fund Buy Sell. It's much smaller than GoFundMe, but it's also 25% cheaper. My prediction is that just about every nonprofit is going to get into crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. So I love your question, Terry. We have about 10 clients now that are using peer-to-peer. Here's an example. One is an organization that raises money to build wells around the world. So many times it's a church that's doing that. So they are setting up a peer-to-peer crowdfunding site where Church ABC can go set up their own crowdfunding sub-account without putting in their checking account number or tax information. All the money goes to the well drilling organization, and they get all the great bells and whistles that come with crowdfunding. So I do think everybody should start looking at peer-to-peer crowdfunding, and I'll put a plug in for Fund Buy Sell.
We're planning on doing that in the spring with our kids, having them lead that charge, the ones to raise money for scholarships. So we're going to watch that too.
These kids have phenomenal social networks.
Exactly. They're the ones that's going to bring
Uncle Gene and Aunt Jane. Okay, let's see. How important is integration of recurring here with existing recurring platforms? You know, I think recurring is a little newer, so we haven't heard much about that yet. I think you certainly want it to be integrated in, and we can integrate our software into most of the big systems. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a nuisance, that $25 monthly charge to try to get that in your software. So I think it's important to, if you use recurring and it starts to take off, that it has an integration, definitely. I know we're past our 30 minutes, so we'll move it a little quickly. Everything is SaaS-based in our system, so reports you can run instantly. Dina, did you use reports and
yes.
look at these things? Yeah.
Every day after the event, so that I knew who had given, who hadn't, who I needed to make phone calls with. But I also saved those reports for finance, so they knew they could break down. My finance department wanted to see who was giving for all of those, you know, for that one check that you get.
Yeah, that's right. And then you can download this and import it into your CRM if you wanted to. Lots of bells and whistles and lots of checks and balances. Pricing, I think I mentioned that. It's $1,000 to $2,000 typically for most of these services. I won't go through these in detail, but as part of our slides that we're going to be sending, we have lots of great images of how people have done their little handout cards and their screens. And I will send this along to everybody that attended this was kind of an interesting one, at this big convention, Caring and Creating. They put the little, along with the tag G4 on the back, was a way that you knew what to text in, so they raised a lot of money at that event.
And we did a screenshot on the back of our card, so it actually looked like a phone, and it was text, you know, the text bubbles. So if you were 70 years old, you knew exactly what you were looking at.
Yeah. So I will send all of you a link to all of these so you can kind of see how it goes. Oh yeah, here's an example of one of these cards, and here's a lady that's clearly over 50 that is doing it. Here's a card that was on a place setting, very handy. Any more questions for Dina or me before we sign off here? We've had great questions so far. any more before we sign off? Let me go to the last one so that we can show.
You have one more question about pricing.
Another question. So Amber, pricing, it depends on whether you want to use these services just for one event or for a year. And it depends on whether you want to use the mobile donate credit card with or without the screencasting. So the price ranges from $1,000 to $2,000 based on whether you want to use it for a whole year and how many services you want. So $1,000 or so typically gets you the services for an event. Here is my information, and Dina, maybe you could write it in. I don't know what, I don't have it here. Could you write in your email in the chat window in case anybody has some more info?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Amber, your question, yes, you can either select a one-time use because you just want to use it one time in the fall, or you want to use it for the whole year. We charge a little bit more if you want to use it all year long. Here is Dina's email. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We will break now unless you have more questions, and we'll send you the slides on the webinar in the morning. And if anybody wants a demo, let us know. We can do that for you. And if you have questions for Dina, shoot them over to her or to me. Thank you so much, Dina, for a super explanation. And we will talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.